Hello, welcome to session 3. This is part 3 of Q&A with April. If you don't know, I am April, founder of Blushing Phoenix. I help people move through their redness and into living their best life. And as you can see from one blusher flusher to the other, you are not alone, my friend. Today, we are in part 3 of Q&A. I asked you all on Instagram to ask me a question, and you delivered. And I'm going to wrap up the rest of those questions that I can get to today. I am already super flushed because if you go back and watch the videos, you will see I've been up here in this hot room for a while trying to get through these questions. So, nonetheless, I'm going to deliver. And it is Mother's Day, and I'm having me a little mimosa. All right, let's get right into it. First question, why is there always a side that blushes more? The left in my case. So for a lot of people that blush or flush, you may have one area that blushes a lot more. And as you can see, mine actually goes up this right side. And I don't know if that is like all the time, but I do think it's pretty prevalent on this side of my body. And to answer your question, I don't know. I'm just assuming, I mean, this is from vascular, the blood vessels are opening up, the blood is rushing through, and it's just really close to the skin. I mean, at the end of the day, that is what it is. You are having a reaction in your body. So this, to me, this is the histamine reaction. So people who've asked me, like, have you looked into histamine intolerance? This is what's happening. My body is going into a sense of fight or flight. There's a cortisol release. That's a stress hormone. That stress hormone is causing, the fight or flight, causing my heart to pump a little like harder and faster. Actually, what is my heart rate right now? Let's see. 75 beats per minute. That's actually not that bad. But anyway, it is a little, 75 beats per minute. That's like a light movement exercise. It's usually around like 50-ish, 60-ish at a resting heart rate. So I'm at 72 beats per minute. Definitely have some adrenaline pumping through my system. And then there is a reaction in my body because I'm hot in this room and it is causing that histamine reaction at that point. For me, I'm assuming, and I could be wrong, feel free to correct me, is that there's just a stronger blood flow happening on this side, or this side's closer to the skin, or I don't know. This is just my way of saying I don't know. But I know you're not alone in that because I think a lot of people have a more dominant side that does flush or blush. Next question. Do you make mention of your flushing at work when you know it is happening? Yes and no. It depends on what environment I am in. So for the most part, I wear a shirt that's a little bit higher than this. Usually it would probably come up about like this because the chest can get super red and flushed. And that to me is what causes a major distraction. I'm not comfortable that way, so I always am going to wear something that's up or that I can pull up just a little bit higher like that. So for the most part, I don't really think people see it, especially in a virtual environment because I work in a remote position. But it does depend. If I'm having a more intimate conversation with someone and it just kind of unfolds that way, I'm listening for cues. I'm aware of what I'm feeling in that environment if I'm going to open up about it and talk about it. For the most part though, I don't really talk about it much. And a lot of that would depend on my mood and my feelings around it in the moment as well. If I can use it as an opportunity to teach people about flushing or blushing and erythrophobia, I'm happy to do so. But for the most part, I just carry on with my business. Next question. Have you ever heard of any TED Talks on this subject or anything similar? I have not. I have heard of talks around social anxiety, but not necessarily around blushing or flushing. I think that this is an underrepresented community, and I think that this is a topic that a lot of people are not talking about because they don't realize how significant it is because a lot of people are not talking about it, which is one of the reasons why I created Blushing Phoenix was because I was tired of searching the internet and coming up empty and not finding any information. That made me feel so much more hopeless. And I remember one day thinking, maybe I could be that person for somebody else out there who is searching and seeking and is finding nothing. That maybe one day they will pull up Google or YouTube and they will find me. They will find that I'm saying like, listen, here's my situation and you are not alone in your situation. And as I said on Instagram, when I answered this question, maybe I'll be that person. Maybe one of you will be that person that will lead the way and pioneer us into a TED Talk around this topic. Next question. Do you still use Propranonol? Yes, I do. So, and I say this, I have the prescription still. I think I have quite a few pills left. So if you know my story about Propranonol, Propranonol is a beta blocker. It is the one thing The one thing that I found that like helps so much, I was gonna put a percentage around it, but I know that it worked really, really well in the beginning. And then I remember being in a situation where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm flushing. But my mind did not obsess over the flushing. I felt more like it's happening, but I kind of don't care. And so when you don't care, your system calms down and it just kind of reduces that flushing over time. So I do still have the Propranonol. The last time I used it was September 10th when I had an altercation. I won't go into detail, but I had an altercation and I did not flush at all. So on September 10th of 2021, I was getting an IUD. A lot of TMI for my guys that are listening out there, am I right? But I was getting an IUD. I never had one of those before. I had the baby in July. I was going for my checkup and get an IUD put in. And I remember being really nervous about that because sometimes with health anxiety, which I can have sometimes, and especially after I had a baby and was dealing with some postpartum depression, is that I started reading what could happen to you if you get an IUD, and it could actually puncture through your uterus and kill you. So there's that. That is so unlikely, but when you have health anxiety, you will get fixated, hyper fixated on stuff that is just like, it's not irrational, but it's kind of irrational. It's a little much. And so I was nervous about the whole procedure. And so I took a Propranonol that day, that morning, went and got the procedure done. Everything went well. I remember going to the grocery store, and then when I got home, I had a call, and on that call, it blew up into an altercation. And I remember seeing myself on the Zoom video and being like, I'm not even freaking flushing right now. I was so pissed too. I'm not even freaking flushing right now. And I definitely give kudos to Propranonol for that. So yes, I do still take Propranonol. I think it is fantastic if you get your dosage right, if you have a great doctor or primary care, what do they call them? Primary care practitioner that you are working with. I was working with a PA. She is fantastic. She listened to me. I didn't feel judged by her, and she is the one who suggested Propranonol for me. So I do think that that is something that you should definitely talk to your doctor about. Check it out. Don't get discouraged if it doesn't work. It may be a dosage issue. It may be that you don't need to be on Propranonol. You need to be on a different beta blocker. But just find a really great doctor. If there's one thing I could tell you to do is to invest your time into finding a really great doctor, somebody in the medical field who can help you. And then the other side of that is somebody to help with the mental side of that, whether that's a coach, a psychologist, psychiatrist, therapist, whatever it is, a really great friend, I don't care. Somebody who helps with this part, somebody who helps with the physical part, physiological stuff, because I do think they go hand in hand. Next question. Can this be linked to diet or is it hereditary? I've been dealing with it since I was a teen. I 100% yes to all of the above. I believe it can be linked to diet. I believe it could be hereditary and in your genetics. I would say that if you are in a place where you would like to see if it is related to your diet, I always tell people to talk to Dr. Tara Odesky. I will link her information below. She has courses that can help with some elimination and just going through how she healed her rosacea. And even though this is not necessarily rosacea that you're talking about, they are so closely related. A lot of things start in the gut. So if you're in the headspace to go through an elimination period and actually talk to somebody who has overcome something that felt very debilitating, definitely talk to Dr. Tara. And then as far as hereditary, I definitely think it can come through genetics as well. I noticed that my mom actually gets really red on her chest. My brother actually has the reaction to the sun that I have and gets a little flushed up his neck, and he sends me pictures. He's like, look at what just happened to me. And it's actually gotten worse as we've gotten older, but I definitely think there is a hereditary aspect to it. All right, next question. Do you also get blushed and flushed when you're excited? I blush if I'm laughing a lot and excited. Yes, absolutely. Any sort of like heavy emotion, there's usually going to be some flushing involved. It doesn't happen all the time, but that is definitely one of the triggers, is just being very joyful and happy and just like passionate and belly laughing and, you know, angry and emotional and all those different things. But I definitely do and can get very flushed if I'm just laughing. It causes my body temperature to rise, and if my body temperature rises, sometimes I just have that kind of histamine reaction, like that intolerance moment, and it just, you know, flushes me up. But yes. Next question. Do you think birth control pills could be a trigger? Oh my gosh. When I first started the channel, that was one of the big avenues that I went down, was Is it my birth control pills? And I will tell you this, I got off birth control. I wanted to let my body just kind of like naturally reset. And I do think it had, I do think I had some issues with the birth control. I have videos on that if you want to go back and just like search in my search bar and put in birth control, and you will see that I was kind of tracking my menstrual cycle. I'd come off my birth control. That's also how I wound up having a surprise baby, if you know. So just be careful in that area. I'm tired. Babies make you tired. Happy Mother's Day. But I do think there are some links to birth control. I do a lot of different videos on progesterone, estrogen, tracking my cycle, when progesterone is the highest. So yeah, I definitely think that that played a part, but I think it was a little deeper than that for me. I will say though, when I got off birth control, there was a lot of like this kind of like overwhelming anxiety that I had that I didn't know I had because it just felt normal to me, that subsided and my sleep got better like immediately. So the flushing didn't necessarily go away for good, but a lot of these other kind of nasty side effects that I didn't even know I was having went away. Next question. How do you manage to keep eye contact when you're going red and you focus out on the conversation? Oh yeah, that's a tough one. I talked about this in, I think it was video 1 or 2, I can't remember, but it's just really awareness and presence. It's about bringing yourself back to the moment. And I will tell you that obviously meditation could really help with that because it's the practice of meditation. Obviously there's so many great benefits to meditation, but the practice of meditation is what can help you in the moment, in those kind of heightened moments, be able to center yourself and focus back on what am I present about right now? What do I want to feel present about? What is happening in the moment right now? How do I look at this person in the eye and still keep my focus knowing that I'm kind of crumbling on the inside? So I would definitely look into some meditation and breathing practices, yoga, anything that helps you stay in the moment. I worked with a yoga practitioner, Liz Gomez. I did a video with her. We have an interview that's up on the channel if you want to check that out. And she is fantastic. I think she also offers some like digital classes if you're interested in checking her out. And then Kelly, I can't think of her last name right now, but she's like one of my, you know how you have like these internet BFFs? She's like my internet BFF. I've never met her in person, but I think she's just one of the most amazing people I've ever like met. She's amazing. I'm going to link her info below. And then also we have Laura, who had a really amazing awakening, and she's really into body work. And I just think that that's a really special human to connect with if that's something that you're interested in. Next question. How to cope with work-based blushing? This is the only time I'm likely to be getting. I think this goes back to a lot of what I've shared in some of the previous videos, is that when it comes to working, I think there is like this, it's a deeper issue with authority. It has to do with authority, which stems into like some childhood issues of mine. And also I think it has to do with just that feeling of being enough and am I coming across as they would want me to be. It's really, if you've struggled with people pleasing, I think gonna be a trigger for us to some degree. I've struggled with people pleasing, codependency, and just a lot of issues with authority, of wanting to be good enough and seen as put together, and knowing that I am strong and confident, because that's how you become a leader in an organization. That's how you get into C-suites. That's how you make a lot of money and make a big impact in an organization. And who would ever want this? You know what I mean? I think that a lot of it has to do with, if I am broken down about this, other people are going to look at me and be broken down about this with me. Oh yeah, she's that one that flushes all the time. She's got all kinds of issues. She's nervous. She's this, she's that. But if I move through this, like, yeah, this happens. It's my overactive nervous system. I really can't do much about it. I look into trying to do things about it. But at the end of the day, if it happens, I got shit to do. And here's what we're going to do about it. And you take the authority over that thing in your life. It doesn't have to be blushing. It can be anything that's like trying to take you down. You take authority back. And what will happen is the people around you will get in line with where you're headed, with what your head is saying. So for me, that is, I have always felt like there is some sort of calling on my life. I have things to do. I have things to say. And this is not going to stop me. And if I'm going to be around people in authority positions that are not going to elevate me because I turn red, fuck them. I'm sorry, excuse my language, but you're on my channel. And fuck them. The mimosa's hidden. But that's all I got to say. I'm serious. Do not stop living your life because somebody will not elevate you. Oh, somebody told me on my channel in the comments the other day that they were in a performance review and they were literally told that they could not be elevated to work with clients and present because they turn red, and it shows how nervous they are and it makes people really uncomfortable. And I wept when I read that because number one, I know what that feels like, in the sense of just feeling like somebody is going to stall your ability to move because of something that you cannot control. So here's what I would say to that. That is not your environment. Get out of it. I don't care about, well, what am I going to do with my bills and what am I going to do about, figure it out. Get out of that environment. You are going to crumble under the weight of that. It is not your truth. It's not who you are. It is going to hold you back. Don't let any person hold you back. Oh, that one got me worked up. All right, and I have one last question, and it's in Spanish, so I'm about to translate it. Translate. Hola, ¿cómo estás? That means hi, how are you, I think. ¿Cómo estás? Tengo fobia social y erythrophobia. Me pasa ese brote igual que vos. Oh, from...
Mom,
What, babe?
Daddy has a real gun.
I know he has a real gun, I know.
He can shoot people with it.
So... Go! Bye!
Bye.
Okay, I just want to point out that that was my kid. Almost 9-year-old little boy. He did not say a word about how red I am. That is a 9-year-old little boy. I do not walk around the house talking about being red like this, and if I did, he's like in a whole different Lego world, so he would never even think about it. He's a 9-year-old little boy, and I keep saying that because think about little kids. They are honest AF. And not one moment did he say, oh my gosh, look at how red you are. And I really feel like I'm super red right now. Like I said, this camera is actually making me look a little redder than I actually am, but he didn't say a word about it. So this just goes to show, I'm not saying it's just in our head because clearly it's a physical appearance, but it just goes to show that it's a bigger deal in our heads than it is to most people. You're always going to have those little shitheads that are like, oh my gosh, you're so red. It's so funny. Ha ha ha. And they remind you of like the little fuckers in school that pissed you off and you were afraid of them because you didn't want them to make you feel less than you actually are. And anybody who calls out anything about people in their physical appearance, I just think is really messed up. They're opening the garage downstairs. Anyway, last question, the grand finale that I had to translate. It is, hello, how are you? I have a social phobia, erythrophobia. This outbreak happens to me just like you. So it wasn't actually a question. It's just somebody letting me know that they deal with the same thing, and they let me know in Spanish. So let me see how I can translate that over for you. English to Spanish, and let's say, hi. Thank you for reaching out. You are not alone. You are brave and worthy. I see you. So I would say, hola, gracias por contactarte. Usted no está solo, eres valiente y digno, te veo. I don't know how good that was, but that's what I would like to say back. Woo, you guys. We have been on a journey, have we not? Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for asking these questions. Thank you for putting yourself out there, for being brave, for showing up. Thank you for having hope and this positive energy, even when this really sucks, to know that you are so much more than the redness. Thank you for showing up. We need you. You possess gifts and talents, and there's an expression in you that needs to come out. Thank you again for showing up. Thank you all for your questions. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe if you have not subscribed. The more the algorithm knows there's activity happening here, it knows that this is actually a topic that people want to hear about. And I appreciate your support of the channel. Thank you all for such encouraging comments and emails and things that you send me all the time on various platforms. It means more to me than you'll ever know. And with that, I will leave you with, you are so much more than the redness. Yes, you, and you, and you, you. See you in my next video.